Good evening and welcome back to ATL Falcons UK podcast. Not as many with us this week, but we are joined by another amazing guest to come and talk about the game against Detroit, which, as we all know, wasn't the result that any of us would have wanted to see. Unfortunately, we were getting a little bit used to Victory Mondays here on the show. But of course, you can never have too much of a good thing. So we're just going to bring in a massive long-term friend of the show, Justin Felder, Atlanta sports journalist. Justin, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, guys. It's good to see you again. Good to hear from you again. How are you guys? Hope you're doing really well.
I mean, it would be better if it was a victory Monday, but we're doing good other than that.
Fair enough.
No, we're good. We've, I think it almost feels like we're in a little bit of a different landscape right now. Obviously, we've had a good start of the season. Up until this point, all the few years that Danny and Cal have been following us, Falcons had never been over 500. So right. It's new territory for the boys as well. I guess we need to start off by saying, great start to the season, but obviously we hit the blocks a little bit on a really tricky game this week. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of us really underestimated Detroit coming in to it, but not the result we wanted.
Yeah, I think you got it right there. Yeah, first thing is to keep perspective. They're 3 games into 17, or longer, and they're 2-1. It's hard to get any win, much less a couple to start the season, and to be over 500 and to start 2-0. Those are all really good things, right? That said, it wasn't up to really the same standard that we come to expect. I mean, Arthur Smith said on Monday that he felt like they didn't match the intensity of Detroit. Drake London, when I talked to him in the locker room after the game, said he felt like they got punched in the face. And that's really not something you hear from this team. Even when things were going bad, right? They always took a lot of pride in the intensity they played with and how they'd fight all the way to the finish. And not saying they didn't fight hard against Detroit, but it was pretty striking to hear that from them, that they said, you know what? Detroit came out with a level that they really weren't at.
Sure.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how they bounce back in a very different environment, taking on Jacksonville. It's going to be, a new experience for a lot of players. Many of them did it, but that's going to present some just logistical challenges. And also against the Jaguars team that, like Detroit, came into the season with really high expectations, and they've been kind of stumbling. So I think that's going to be a desperate Jacksonville team. It's really going to be, I think, 2 teams that come in with a real big chip on their shoulders. But just one game. But if it showed some problems that, if they persist and they keep popping up, are going to become a thing.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of kind of talking points on social media over the past couple of past day since the heartbreak of last night, and I guess there's a couple of things that stood out. I think for me, the O-line don't really seem to be getting in the same groove that they were in, certainly towards the end of last year. It feels like Caleb McGarry's having a really, really tough time out there. And going into Detroit, we knew their run defense was going to be good, but I don't think we expected them to stifle us that much.
Yeah, and I think, we didn't go into the Lions locker room, but read some folks from the newspaper in Atlanta that did, and the Detroit defenders basically said, look, our goal was to stop the run and see if Desmond Ridder could beat us. And I think, there's a combination there probably of there were sometimes where, whether the coverage was good or where Desmond Ridder could have gotten the ball out earlier. I'm not an expert enough to say what should have happened, but there were some times when the protection held up for a while, and then there was ultimately a sack. And then there was also, sometimes when guys got beaten. You said a lot of people certainly here on social media and experts have pointed out, it hasn't always been great at the right tackle spot with Caleb McGarry so far this year. And those things can also, I think, over the course of a game, kind of snowball, right? If you're Desmond Ridder and you're getting hit a bunch, right? then it could affect your decision making. It can affect other things, you know. So those things can kind of build up when it's 7 sacks over the course of a game. It's not a clean slate every single time. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. So I think you know, I think that's certainly something that they're going to be looking at for sure. But you know, ultimately the Lions said, we're not going to let you beat us with the running game. Show us you can pass it. And without the running game, it really just kind of, you know, put sand in the gears of everything else, right? The play action wasn't as effective because you really couldn't fool Detroit in quite the same way. So yeah, it was just a lot of things all tied together that really none of it worked for the most part against Detroit. Really on offense, there weren't a lot of bright spots.
No, and I guess it's going to, this debate's going to rumble on. I think it's, you know, around whether Ridder's the guy, right? And I think, you know, I certainly don't think that the jury should be out on him, but he's got to do better, right? I mean, I think especially after the game in Detroit, and look, right, I think one thing that maybe might be getting glossed over a little bit is that Lions edge rushers are, you know, they're ballers, right? So, you know, if there's a pair of edge rushers who you really don't want bearing down your neck when you're maybe not so high on confidence, it's probably not those two, right?
Right. They got a lot of talent. You know, Aiden Hutchinson was one of the top overall picks for a reason. That said, first 2 games of the year, the Lions had 1 sack total, right? So they weren't really setting the world on fire. Like the Panthers, for instance, you see Brian Burns kind of beat up the Falcons pretty good, but he's been going crazy every week. So it's kind of like, all right, well, this guy is just playing out of his mind right now. He's going to be doing it all year long. And we'll see. Maybe Detroit really turns it on, or maybe they figured something out. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The Desmond Ridder debate is going to continue. You got to remember, he's 7 starts into his career. Not every young guy comes in like CJ Stroud right now with Houston and sets the world on fire. It can take time. And there are a lot. I mean, it's you've seen it over decades in the NFL.
Right?
Very polarizing, but also the one thing that really is going to hurt, you know, stifle a young quarterback is exactly what you said just a moment ago, is being under constant pressure, right? I mean, that's just going to make a really, really, really hard job even harder. So you got to set him up for success a little better. So it really all goes hand in hand. But you look at Detroit, you know, they got a quarterback right there who struggled for years. And then in Detroit, they really ask him, just manage the game, make the throws that are there, right? And he's really been able to do that. So can Desmond Ridder grow into that role? Maybe he's not Patrick Mahomes setting the world on fire. You know, I think there's certainly still time for that. He's 7 games in. It's way too early to write him off, but it's also reasonable, I think, for fans to say, hey, we expect more.
And I think, sorry, go on.
Mark, sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of the main issues that we're having at the moment in time, though, that everybody's expectation of Ridder is sky high, and people are calling him out based on the fact that, oh, but a quarterback should be able to drag the team out of poor performances. Yes, if you've got a Patrick Mahomes or a Watson when he was peaking and stuff like that, it's a completely different ball game. We've not got a quarterback that is a franchise quarterback yet. You can't expect him to pull a not struggling team, but a struggling performance out of nowhere, when at the minute we just need him to be steady. We just need him to make his passes, be consistent, and that is the level we should be aiming for at the moment, and not he's not thrown 4 touchdowns this game. And that's the social issue at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it can be tough to kind of wrap your head around when you see, you know, a 1st-round pick at wide receiver, 1st-round pick at running back, 1st-round pick at tight end. And you think, okay, well, we just want him to be, you know, steady game manager. It's like, yeah, get these guys the ball. These guys are 1st-round picks for a reason. So, you know, I think it's a matter. I think they expected to be probably further along than you're seeing right now. You know, but there's also time. I think they're trying to figure out what this offense can look like. And I think definitely getting the protection cleaned up, whether that's something, you know, schematic, whether that I'm not exactly sure what that would be. And I mean, offensive line play is so, you know, intricate. It's hard for a layman to break down or to analyze without talking totally just making stuff up.
100%.
But hey, but that's our job. No, I'm just kidding. But I think if they get that cleaned up, give him some time, then yeah, the expectation is get the ball to the playmakers and let them do it. But again, hey, that's what Jared Goff's doing, right? Get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown and let him work, right? These guys are gonna get open, hand it to Jahmyr Gibbs, make the throws that are there, and protect the ball. And let the skill position guys, be a point guard, to borrow a basketball term.
Exactly.
Let those be the distributor, right? Patrick Mahomes isn't throwing to a bunch of first round picks. He's got a bunch of guys, Travis Kelce, obviously, but he's got a bunch of wide receivers who, are maybe a little less well thought of. But he's able, like you said, to elevate everything himself. Desmond Ridder doesn't have to do that, but he has to get the ball to those guys when they're open.
Yeah.
So Justin, I need to touch on this because I think this was another thing that was talked about quite a lot today, and I'm kind of in the headspace right now where I'm just like, I just want everyone to give this team a break and just let them like organically grow. It doesn't really feel like a kind of week goes by without some player being focused on or some player not getting enough targets. However, I did watch a little bit of the kind of the replays from yesterday, and there has been some talk today around Kyle Pitts and like just general effort. Like, I don't know if the guy's annoyed that he's not getting any targets. I don't know. Like, he's never really struck me as like a bad locker room guy. So do we think that there's anything in that, or again, are we as a fan base, which we know can be quite enthusiastic, let's put it that way.
Sure.
Are we looking too much into it?
There's nothing that I know or have ever heard, to that effect. I've seen, posts about that, et cetera. The one thing I didn't get a chance to talk to Kyle after the game yesterday, and we were traveling back, so we weren't up at the facility today. The one thing I noticed early in the game was on that there's that deep pass where he was open and Ridder didn't get it to him. It seemed to me, and I saw other people tweeting about it, that it almost looked like he was limping a little bit, and then he was out for like 10 plays in a row, and then he came back in and played. So I don't know, maybe he just turned it something. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I'm imagining things. But that was one thing I noticed, was it looked like for a second he kind of came off the field a little awkwardly. And I watched him. I got, I usually sit up in the press box. I have binoculars, especially to see if injured guys are doing anything. He wasn't meeting with the doctor, so it wasn't anything serious. So if it was anything, it was, hey, just give me a minute to collect myself. But I wish we had a chance to ask him after the game. Not that he would have necessarily told us if anything was wrong. But I wondered if that might have been a little bit. But yeah, I don't think he's never given us any indication, or any of the people I talked to, that he's, that he's frustrated. But, you got a guy who call him the unicorn. You expect him to look like Travis Kelce getting 10 catches out there, and that hasn't happened very often at all yet.
So this all could be just part of cementing together, though. Like we said, we're 3 games in. No team is ever performing at the peak 3 games into a season. And I know it's not his first season, but everything changes. Time changes. It was, what did he have? 9 targets for 5 receptions and 41 yards. It's not great, but it is an improvement on week 1 and 2. So baby steps.
and trying to get him the ball, for sure. You can tell by the targets. He's certainly a focal point of the offense. But yeah, it's hard to wrap your mind around, right? Having all these super duper talented guys, a quarterback that they have tons of confidence in and have really talked up for a long time. So I can totally understand fans who are like, now wait a second, it should be a little better. But you know what? They play 1 game a week, and we overanalyze it, and that's part of the fun of it. And that's fine. But it's very, very early. The entire season's ahead of these guys. But it's totally reasonable, I think, for fans to look at this and say, hey, if this doesn't get turned around, these high expectations are just not going to work out.
Well, it's go on, Mark. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I was just checking on time here, Danny. So obviously, Justin, we're really, really hoping that we get the chance to link up with you in London next week. The Falcons have been in touch with us, and we've released to all the followers what pubs we're all going to be in and what the events are going to be around Wembley. But just before you go, I did want to, seeing as I know you have more feet on the street than coppers on the beat. There's been talk today about injury to Troy Anderson. Is there anything that you can tell us about that?
I wasn't up there today, so this is based on the folks who were up there. I saw that Arthur Smith said it was a chest pectoral injury, that it might be a significant one, which would definitely be a loss. I mean, the athleticism that he brings and the speed at that linebacker position, they were really expecting a big jump this season from him. And when he's been out there, dude's all over the field.
100%.
And when you play teams with, tight ends have given the Falcons so much trouble over the years. You got a couple games against the Saints, and they're going to have Alvin Kamara, like a back who's going to run around out of the backfield. So, or ETN this week with the Jaguars, who can catch passes. So such an asset, such a weapon to have a fast linebacker like that. Hopefully it's nothing serious. And they've got a guy in Caden Ellis who's been great. And Nate Landman has been, when he's been called upon, you really, in week 2, hardly had to say his name at all, which is a good thing. If a guy is coming in there kind of as a fill-in that you don't even notice, maybe he's not making these huge splash plays, but he's not getting beat and making mistakes. So I thought that was a pretty encouraging performance from him. So hopefully it's not that bad. That would be really unfortunate for a guy they like a lot.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know that you have much more pressing and important things to do rather than sit around and talk to us silly.
No, he does not. We are.
This is the best.
silly British morons. But we appreciate you coming on, and really, really hope we get a chance to link up again next week. So, all the best, safe trip, and we shall hopefully catch you very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be out and about. We're going to try to make it to the party on Saturday, to the fan event. I'm not sure what we're doing Saturday yet, but I saw the post about Sunday morning also. So we'll be around. Please come say hi if you see us. Hit me up on social media or whatever. And looking forward to it. We had such a great time last time hanging out with you guys, and really looking forward to it.
Look forward to doing it again.
Thanks very much
for coming on, Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you later. Thank you. Oh no, let's change that.
No.
Boom. There we go. Perfect. So whilst we're on London, should we stick on the London game just for 5 minutes and just run through it all a little bit? Or do you want to jump straight? Yeah.
No, let's I think our conversation with Aaron last week really kind of cemented a few things for me, and I think I'm an emotional guy, right? So I tend to see a lot of these arguments, and I get defensive, and I probably get a bit too defensive when actually, talking to Aaron last week, he's absolutely right. There's got to be some improvement, and I take a lot of comfort from the fact that the Detroit Lions that we played yesterday, they're a good team, right? And if we're not there yet in terms of where everyone needs to be schematically, headspace wise, it was always going to be a really, really big struggle to go into Detroit's home and get a result there. That being said, as one of Desmond Ridder's biggest advocates, Des didn't have a great game, right? So, they've all, I think, collectively, coming over to London next week. Jacksonville just got an absolute howking off the Texans, by the way. Texans
37-17.
Put a 40 bomb on them. So, that's going to go one or two ways. They might be really, really angry and want to take it out on us, or actually they might be on the slide as well, right? So, or on a slide, should I say, not as well. But
yes,
I think, again, it's going to be a really, really big task. But I think in terms of the Detroit game, not great, needs to do better. On to next week.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at Jacksonville against Houston, somehow they nearly outplayed Houston in every statistic in terms of yards, passing yards, rushing yards, everything. They just I didn't watch the game. I've seen a few highlights, and for whatever reason, they just couldn't see it over. The difference being our defense in their defense was absolutely balling out for the majority of the game over weekend. However, when you're on the field for 80% of the game, it's inevitable that you're gonna give up points at some point. There was no way around it. So I think a bit of a deflated Jacksonville is probably what we needed at this time, because if you were facing one of the big guns that's in form,
it's a good acid test, right? When you lose, you need to come back and ball out, right? So are they going to come over to London and let the Jaguars take advantage of us maybe not being as far along in terms of the development of the team that we wanted to see, right? Or are we actually going to go, no, this ain't us. We need to go back to what works. And we know that we're playing a bit of an easier defense against the run. So, we can kind of almost go back to that. Like Falcon, I'm just going to just quickly check this comment up here. Was just go back to the drawing board, right? So it don't work. And I'm really, really encouraged to hear Justin saying that about Kyle, because I'd seen loads of people say it, and I don't know, I'm kind of like, he's always, everything we've heard, he's always sounded like a really good locker room guy, but Julio hurt me, so now I'm like,
anyone can do it.
Maybe he's just a dick. Who knows,
absolutely.
Right? So I think that's kind of where my headspace is at, and I'm really glad Justin was able to jump on and we could get that insider knowledge. Just before we go onto the game, against Jacksonville, I'm just going to quickly flick this comment up. So we've got Alicia over on Facebook. I'm coming to the UK for the first time. Where are the Falcons fans going to be? Right. So on this, we've put the posts all over our socials. So if you follow us, just nip back into the posts. But
I pinned it on Twitter, and it's our most recent post on Facebook, so it's all on there. But for anyone watching that maybe hasn't had a chance to read it yet, on Saturday, it's going to be the Admiralty, which is in Trafalgar Square. It'll be open all day. Everyone will be there all day, but the event itself is from 6 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. And the Falcons have said there's going to be Freddie Falcon's going to be there, the cheerleader's going to be there, Brian Finneran's going to be there to sign some autographs, take some photos, and all of that magical stuff. And then on Sunday, it's the Green Man Pub, which is walking distance from
very close to Wembley.
So it's going to be a repeat of the Saturday event pretty much, but then at 12 o'clock, all of the fans are going to walk together over to Wembley as a bit of a, I don't know what you want to call it. I suppose it's a march, but a little bit of fanfare with it all. So I
will be honest, right? And absolutely no disrespect to Brian Finneran, right? Because he was an absolutely brilliant servant to the Falcons.
Yeah.
I am so hyped. So hyped that I'm going to meet Freddie. I cannot
wait.
Tell you how excited I am to give Freddie a big hug.
Freddie jumps off the stadium every single week. That deserves a pat on the back.
100%. Cool. So I just want to quickly flick a Paul's comment as well. A regular listener to the show, Detroit has set the blueprint to stop us. The Warriors, we don't adapt as it's a copycat league, and other defenses will. Yeah, I mean, I think I suppose how I respond to that question is yes, absolutely, but it's what we did last season, and they can set up to stop the run. Detroit's defense against the run was already very good, right? So they came up with a game plan, right? Now, if other teams try and do that, then this offense needs to click. So I suppose my point is our defense is going to be as proficient at stopping the run as much as Detroit. is going to be my first kind of major question.
Yeah.
My answer will probably be no for most of our schedule. And I suppose, secondly, if they do, then we either need to get better at adjusting, or it's going to be a long season, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that that question is a fair one, and I think the only person that can answer that is the 11 teams and the 11 men in red and black. So we'll see how that goes.
When you look towards Jacksonville specifically, though, based on the performance against the Texans, they didn't get any sacks either. So they're not exactly performing at the highest level they've reached. The only concern that I will highlight is Foy now plays for them.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
he's going to have that grit in his teeth.
I love that man. I love, and I'll be honest with you, the one I'm kind of most worried about is Red. I think he's had a really, really good start to the season. I think it's pretty much nailed on that we're going to get a second round pick. But and it's so great to see him going somewhere and flourishing. And it really makes me sad that he, obviously didn't feel that he could do that here. Yeah. But he's going to be a real worry. So
yes,
Akuda didn't play too badly this week, but we need AJ and Akuda and Jesse to be absolutely on their A game, because these guys have got weapons and Trev can throw the ball. So we're in a
exactly. And Mr. Lawrence was 279 yards for 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was 27 out of 40. But like we said, we are not the Texans. But our defense is and has been performing to a pretty high level. So I'd like to think that we could at least challenge them so that it's not a walk in the park. The Lions only got points out of repetition, I'd say. There wasn't any fatal errors. I didn't for one moment go, what was that?
That Lions team can put a 40 burger on you easy, right?
Yeah.
So although I didn't like getting beaten in the way that we got beat, but they can score points against anybody.
Yeah.
So credit where it's due, right? Let's not take anything away from the opponent we've just faced. We didn't just lose yesterday because we weren't necessarily at the races. We played a really, really proficient offense who, like I say, can score points against anybody. So, to hold them to 20 was, I'm not saying it's great, right? But what I'm saying is that, in perspective, they've done worse. They've done much worse to much better teams than us.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's the problem. Like we were saying just before the show started, hindsight's a beautiful thing. I think if we lost the first game of the season and then won our following 2, everybody's eyes would still be, playoffs were fine, don't worry about it. It was just an early stutter. 3 games in is still an early stutter. We're not the perfect team. And like you just said, we didn't get beat because we were poor. That was part of it, but we played a good team. That's going to happen. That is the nature of football. So I think there's been a lot of overreaction about one loss. We're not burning it down for one loss.
I mean, look at Green Bay, right? It did fill me with a little bit of joy to watch the Saints blow a lead for a change. But it's one of those things, right? Like Green Bay aren't a bad team, right? And we still managed to pull out the stops against them. But then I'm at the point now where we have to start to improve. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm going to fly this flag for as long as I can. Give these kids a break. Just let them grow. Let them grow. And listen, if they don't and the season's a disaster, look, that's on the coach, right? And you know how much I love Coach Smith. I've been growing my mustache just for Sunday, right?
Just for this game.
Just for Sunday, right? So, and I just can't help but always kind of get to the same place where I'm at with it. Just give them a break. Just let them grow. Let them grow as a team. Let them gel, right?
Yeah.
And Paul just brings up a great thing in a great point in the chat.
I literally just popped the stats up on my phone as my next point, so he's read my mind there.
Comment up there. That Broncos defense. All the stat guys at the beginning were like, Sean Payton, he's got good pieces on that defense.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's going to make the defense better. He's just had a 70 bomb dropped on him.
And they took a knee for a kick at the end, so it could have been that little bit worse as well.
It's like sometimes games just don't go your way, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, not like. We got beat by 14 points, right? And we didn't play great, but we didn't get 70 dropped on us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually think our fan base would spontaneously combust if we had a 70 bomb dropped on us.
I think I'd probably come off social media for a good few weeks because it would not be worth my time.
Well, yeah. I mean, my phone battery already takes a battering from our social media. So,
but again, it's perspective because we're 2-1. The Saints are 2-1. Panthers are 1-2. And then of course the Bucks play tonight, and that's not going to be an easy game against the Eagles. We could all be sat at 2-1. It's not a disaster. We can only look at our division. That's all that matters at the moment in time.
Well, 100%, and I think that's likely. And look, even if our division's an absolute bin fire again, right? Just say we win the division, we go to the playoffs, and we lose the first game of the playoffs, right? Well, okay, but we had the most amount of dead cap last year. Yeah. This year we started to finally build a team.
Yeah.
So. Is one and done in the playoff? I mean, that's progress. That's a step forward.
Still
right?
Progress. Yeah. We've not even had a positive win-loss ratio for how many years?
Well, and this is kind of where I'm going with it. We just need to chill.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of burn it all down. I'm not jumping on Heineke in. I'm not jumping on any of those things just yet. I understand the shouts and everybody's entitled to that opinion, but like 7 starts in. He's 7 starts in, man. And this season,
I do think that there is, and I wouldn't say this to his face, but I do think there is a real case for an offensive coordinator. Now I understand Art wants to do it himself, but I think what I'm concerned about is, and you're seeing it in Pittsburgh at the minute. They're absolutely destroying that offensive coordinator, mainly because he's awful, right? But what I think the issue that it's causing, right, is because our head coach is calling plays.
Yeah,
it almost puts more pressure on him. And
100%.
And I know, because I think he's a legend, but I know he probably wouldn't see that as a hindrance. But I think, and I know that he would probably want the pressure on him rather than his guys, right? But at the same time, if this offense needs to gel a bit more, then maybe another perspective on offense with an OC, it might help. I don't know. I'm just trying to. I suppose I'm just trying to kind of look at things objectively at the minute.
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I'd be inclined to agree based on this season so far. Because even when we've won, we've not been spectacular. We've just plowed through teams. But at the same time, I don't see him giving it up either. Like I don't see that in his nature. Well, he's here for a reason. I know he's done it before, but I agree in terms of NFL is a business. And business is results, and it's a results game. And if he wants just his head on the line, taking responsibility for being head coach and the offense, then that's on him. But he is doubling his workload. He's doubling the pressure that's put on him.
And I suppose because I like him so much, that's why I don't want him to have all the pressure. Do you know what I mean? We went through a gazillion offensive coordinators under Dan Quinn, right? And ultimately, The actual real problem was the front office. It wasn't. You could have got any offensive coordinator in.
Yeah.
And I'm now just at the point where I'm like, we need to evolve this offense. And I'm not saying that he can't do it, but I'm saying we need to start looking at ways of, okay, well, this ain't working, so what will?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those as well, like we've discussed earlier, all of the eyes are on quarterback because that is the nature of the role.
Yeah.
But he's got a ton of first round picks in front of him, but none of them are performing either. I know they might not be getting the same amount of receptions and targets as you'd anticipate, or maybe you'd get from a more experienced quarterback, but none of them are glowing so far this season. And players in our roster are glowing in different exactly in his own way. Maybe not so much the game just passed, but they shut him down exactly how you should be shut down. They did their job exceptionally. So he didn't underperform. He just got bricked out of it, didn't he?
And again, like, look, it's always going to happen. Look, remember, Detroit beat the Chiefs first game of the season. Like, again, this is not a game where I really think we should kind of look too much into it of, it definitely means that we're trash, because that's not where we're at, So I think really, really, really good opportunity at Wembley this weekend, and I am so hyped for it. I really, really am.
So hyped.
And we've seen them win on UK soil before.
We have.
It was the last time Pitts got a touchdown, right? So
was it?
Sorry, I see the last time. It was one of the.
It was his first one, definitely. I'm just thinking,
it was,
but he's few and far between, so it's going to happen again.
Well, this is it. Maybe he just needs to get back to Blighty. Maybe he just needs to have some fish and chips and a cup of tea, and embrace our wonderful culture. And he'll be right as rain. But I'm quietly, confident that this again is something that they just need to improve on. They need to take it away. And like Aaron said last week, we really need to start putting 4 quarters together.
100%. The fact that we got to a stage where we were still technically competitive in the 4th quarter, it was still doable, is a testament to the defense, but also, like, why are we having to get to the stage where we're thinking, oh, it's all right, 4th quarter's coming? No, start fast. And that is something that's the most infuriating thing as a fan, because that game, the first quarter as a whole, was so flat from us. We didn't look dangerous for me. No. We didn't look dangerous. I mean, they didn't look dangerous either, but it was just so end to end, and there was nobody just to go, stop, just calm down. We're all right. We're okay. But it's all very rash.
Well, look, like I say, this is another kind of, and look, I think coming to Wembley is almost like, there's always a good atmosphere, but I can't imagine it's the same as going to a game in the US where, you've got your home fans and then smatterings of away fans, and then that's it, right? The atmosphere will be fun, but I don't think there's a huge amount of pressure, even though they say the Jags are the UK team and all of this nonsense. They're not, but and I've got a couple of friends who support the Jags, and it's very much
it's not an overwhelming difference in support, though, is it? I think the only reason the UK's team is because they come over so often. If one team like the Falcons just keep coming over every year, people just adopt them. I don't think it's so staggering that a stadium
is an expansion team.
Exactly. Like, if the Falcons keep coming, we'll be fine. We'll be absolutely
good. Absolutely.
But you're right in terms of atmosphere. Like, it's a sold out stadium, which is not always the case in NFL. We've seen empty Mercedes-Benz for a long time,
full of people who support 32 teams. So
exactly.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the atmosphere is not probably going to be as pressurized as what a home or away game would be.
It's an away game for both teams, so it's a neutral playing field, isn't it?
Exactly.
It benefits us in terms of it's meant to be an away game anyway, so why not make it a little bit more difficult for them?
100%. Cool. So over and under.
Over and under links back to Mr. Pitts that we were just discussing. I've got Cal's take, so he got it sneak peek to him early. However, I didn't get a chance to get Liam's, so we'll try and get it after the show. But it is Kyle Pitts over or under 7 targets this week. I can do a little rundown of his stats if that helps. So this season so far, he's had 9 against the Lions, 5 against Green Bay, and 3 against the Panthers.
Okay.
And then the season before that, 5, 8, 7, 9, 5, 3, 4, 8, 3, 7. So it is, I've gone for like a little bit over average, but just based on the fact that he scored a touchdown in London last time and he's got a bit of a point to prove and maybe a chip on his shoulder.
So what we saying? So over 7 targets, did you say?
Over or under 7 targets, yeah.
Oh.
I'm taking, and I'm keeping the faith, I'm taking the over. Cal has, however, gone for the under.
Yes, I am going to go. I'm going to go over as well.
I think his performance was. We targeted him more the week just gone, and we're back in London, fresh ground, got a touchdown there before, a little bit of self-confidence. Yeah, I think there's no way we don't try and utilize him a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm happy to take the over on that. Obviously, I think we all went over for Bijan, so we all took an L last week. For the last game, both figuratively and literally. But I'm gonna go with the over on this one. I don't know. I think he's just, he probably just then we just need a even if it's just a good half, just to get some confidence going. Do you know what I mean? Let's get some juice flowing.
All it takes is one big run, or one big reception, or whatever. That's all it is.
So I think there's a real opportunity to get Kyle to really, really do something this week. So I'll take the over on that. Yeah, why not? Did Liam come back?
Liam did not come back. However, I will press him for it before the game, so then he can still be part of the scoreboard.
I can tell you right now, he's going to go on the under.
Oh, he's 100% going on the under. In fact, should we read out his overview before what he told us he couldn't come on the show tonight?
Yes.
Let's go.
Just for our regular listeners, Liam isn't well tonight, so that was why you just blessed with Danny and myself. But what was his response?
And I quote, "I'd have sworn about McGarry, and it wouldn't have, and I wouldn't have been sorry about it."
Well,
so, negativity pulsing through us.
Well, I think it's rough, right? Because, and I play the game right at a very, very, shall we say, amateur level, right? And it's I play a tackle, and it's not an easy position, but we've just paid this dude, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
big money.
Say we paid him. I mean, it's decent money for someone at his position. So it's really frustrating, I guess, because you kind of we need this O-line to turn up to see what Ridder's made of and whether Ridder can be that guy. And I think the really, really frustrating thing for me, and I don't want to kind of go over all ground because I know that we talked about it, but I think the really frustrating thing for me is that you need that O-line to function to give Des a bit of a chance to A, get some confidence, B, get some experience, C, get some wins. But you can't expect a quarterback to flourish when he's always on his back. No. And we've seen it repeatedly with Matt, to the point where it was just sad towards the end. You know what I mean? It was really, really, really frustrating. And even if I suppose the caveat being, okay, but even if you can't protect him, make the run game work, right? So I think that's to Liam's point. That weak link in that O-line is not only putting our quarterback at risk, putting our season at risk, but is also stopping our our one focal offensive threat, which is the run, right? So I think Liam's absolutely right, and I mean I don't think I've ever heard Liam swear anyway, but
no, I've not to date anyway.
I can understand why he would want to do so. So so I think just to kind of round up, putting Detroit from this week into the F8 bucket, because we're not going to think about that anymore. We're going to think about an amazing weekend that we're about to have, surrounded by Falcons fans. All other fans of other teams are welcome to join us as well. But guys, listen, and I do feel like, and Danny, I'm going to need you to clip this later and put it on the socials.
I'm ready.
If you see us about and we're enjoying ourselves and we're just, in the moment, 28-3 jokes aren't funny anymore.
No, they're not.
Not only are they not funny anymore, we've heard them all. You're not new. You're not clever. No one's going to pat you on the back and say well done, right? It's really, really boring. So do us all a favor, right? We've got loads of things that you can take the mick out of, right? But
not 28. Can I read the one we got on Facebook earlier,
please? I love banter as much as the next person, but it's just that, guys, come on.
I mean, there's plenty of things as individuals, as a franchise, take the mick out. 100%. 28-3. We got one on Facebook earlier. We don't use Facebook much. Twitter's our primary home. And it reads, can I have tickets 28 and 3, please? That's right, 28-3. Doesn't even make sense. What does that even mean?
Can I just say that person in question needs an immediate hard drive check by the proper because it's not funny, right? So just give it a rest. Grow.
Do you know what though? It's so bad it almost is funny because it doesn't even make sense.
Anyway, so looking forward to an amazing time in London next week. Got Ben in the chat and watching us on YouTube, which I can afford to come down this weekend. Ben, we will have a drink for you, my man.
We will do indeed.
Hope that you can get down to a London game soon. Is there any other business tonight, Danny?
We've got a little one, just Kelson Taylor Swift. It'd be rude not to just a little. I don't know how much you've been on socials today. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. But there's just one clip of Taylor Swift going, "Let's fucking go!" And honestly, it's made my fucking life. It is the best thing I've ever seen. It's just
want to say, you swore before I did this week, so
I did. It just fell out.
Just want to point that out.
You can tell you that as well.
I don't know. I think it's a bit of a weird situation. I guess I'm too old. Like I can probably name about 2 or 3 Taylor Swift songs. I mean, it's not my jam anyway.
You've just got our show cancelled. Oh my god.
What are you gonna do? And I just don't really get it.
I know. I understand. I'm not. Everyone's personal lives are to their own. It's just really interesting based on the fact that Taylor Swift's following on socials is.
I know she's really big. I know she's really big with the youth of today, and I get that. I do. But I don't know. I don't really have a great deal to say about it because I'm kind of like. Okay.
I mean, it made the man play out of his skin. So whatever works for you, whatever works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us vape, some of us drink coffee, some of us date Taylor Swift. Whatever gets you going.
Well, I mean, she had messaged me first, but I said I was busy. So
yeah. I mean, there is a resemblance. There actually is a resemblance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What a type.
He wish he had my hair. Cool. Well, I think, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I do kind of just want to slip into any other business. 70 points in one NFL game. And, you know, a lot, I think Liam mentioned it last week, you know, a year and a bit ago, Dolphins fans were screaming for Tua to be traded. You know, the obviously the franchise kind of could have gone straight in the bin because they had a whole issue with Brian Flores and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know, you get this kind of dweeb, Mike McDaniel, out of nowhere, who never even called plays before, but was just and I seen a picture earlier on of he actually used to be a ball boy in Denver, right? So you know, like going from being a team's ball boy to then
progression,
inflicting one of the worst defeats. I think when the Dolphins scored like 10 touchdowns. Like, listen, I doff my cap to the Dolphins this week, and it was great to watch. It was wonderful to see it happen to Sean Payton. Absolutely love that. Really, really can't stand that dude's face. So, you know, I think just kind of a off the beaten track shout out, you know, jumping to 70 burger. My God, you know, Dolphins, bravo.
Fair play. I've never witnessed anything like that just yet, so I'm praying for the day. It's
coming. Don't worry about it. Cool. So on to London. London's calling.
On to London.
Oh, that's the name of the next show.
There we go. So I mean, we're pretty much done for the show, but anyone that is coming down to London, can't wait to see you all there. We, myself and Cal, will be heading down on Saturday morning. We'll be at the Admiralty, basically all day until late, and then we will be. Don't ask questions. Probably Soho or something like that.
I'll be down in the evening. I will have the kids with me, but I'll be down in the evening for the event. I'll be on Wembley Way. It's 9:30 a.m.
Bright and early.
All of the festivities on Sunday. We're gonna have a great time. You know, really, and we've had quite a few of our kind of regular followers, listeners, get in touch saying that they're coming over from the States, which is amazing because I mean the last time when the Falcons came over, when we played the Jets, it was great, but I kind of just felt like it was a lot of the UK guys. It's great to see so many of our friends from across the pond. So yeah, really looking forward to meet you all. You know, if you're having trouble finding it, we'll post some. We'll obviously post some stuff on the morning. So if you're having any trouble finding us, just drop us a DM and we will show you.
If you see the flag that Mark is modelling at the moment in time, come over, grab a photo. We want as many photos with a flag over the weekend as we can. So whether it's on your own and you post us and tag us in it, or whether you want photos with us in them, which I don't know why you would, looking like this, but we
don't know why you wouldn't.
Mark's mustache will be peaking though, so
it will be.
So if anybody, so yeah, we hope to see you all there, and let's get on to London. Let's do it.
On to London, guys. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Really, really appreciate it from Danny and myself and Cal and Liam. Really, really looking forward to seeing you. I'll put my teeth back in. I'll take a run up at this one. Really looking forward to seeing you all at Wembley. But until then, we'll catch you next week.
Catch you all next week. See you later. Guys.